Hi, I am here to walk you through my latest pattern called the Woodstock Bag. And I named it that because this is the Woodstock Bag. It can be made in vinyl, quilting cotton, cork, pretty much any woven fabric as long as you're interfacing it. It's very simple in design. It has a top zipper for easy access and a see-through vinyl pocket on the inside. The strap is adjustable because my intention for this bag is you can wear it crossbody, so your hands free, or you can wear it around your waist. Now some testers used lobster clasp because they're going to wear it around their waist most often, and that's a easy on off, but you don't have to have the lobster clasp. Don't let that stop you from sewing if you're in the mood for sewing today. I always say find a way to make it work, right? The strap is padded so it's comfortable. If you're making a vinyl bag, you don't need foam interfacing. I do recommend foam interfacing if you're using a quilting cotton. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you how I make one with just see-through vinyl. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so I just wanted to show that if you want to omit your pocket, go ahead and do that. If you want to change the shape, you can do that as well. Okay, here's the lining for the vinyl bag. If you're making a vinyl bag, I suggest using the lining for your strap so that it's super comfortable. Okay, so here's my foam interfacing. This is going to be my exterior fabric, and this is going to be my interior fabric. And here's my SF101 interfacing. So I'm going to walk you through this so that nobody feels left behind. You can do this from a fat quarter. It's so versatile because you don't need a lot of fabric. Let me give this a quick press. Okay, so the pattern pieces are marked. Hopefully you can see that. Front and back. The front has darts so that we have more room to put our items in. They're very simple. I'll walk you through it. The back is flat, and both of them are cut on the fold. So when you get your pattern, first thing you want to do is cut out your pattern pieces. Make sure you print it at 100%. Your 1-inch box is exactly 1 inch. And there's the back. Okay, so I need to cut a front and a back for my lining. So I just fold the fabric. I'm going to put a pin in here so that it doesn't move around on me. And then I'm just going to cut it out. Super simple. One cut. There's the front for the lining. And there's the back. I'm going to repeat that for the outer fabric. Now with this leftover fabric, it doesn't look like a whole lot here, but because I'm conservative with my fabric use, I'm going to cut my strap from these remaining pieces, and then I'll piece my strap together. So we want 4 inches by 60 inches when we do our strap. So I'm just going to straighten up this edge here so I know where I'm at. And now I'm placing the 4-inch ruler mark on the edge. So I've got, so far this one is 20 inches. And this one, always cut up your selvages. Those are weak points in the fabric. So I've got a 20 inch, I've got, this one is about 12, so that's 32. Definitely need another section here. But before I do that, let's get our interfacing cut. So for the lining, we're going to use SF101 or your preferred woven interfacing. It just gives a little structure to the bag. So same thing as the pattern. There's B. I'm a fan of piecing my interfacing. So for this one, well, maybe I can make that fit there. Sometimes I put it together like a jigsaw puzzle and just make it work. Okay, so the lining interfacing is done. Now I'm going to do the foam. This stuff is great because it's easy to sew. It mashes down really nicely, but it gives such nice structure. Now, you know, I just forgot. Usually, I cut this a little bit bigger, and then I baste my fabric to the foam, and then I trim it down perfectly to size. This one, I think this will be okay. I'll make it work because I already cut it. But for you, cut your foam a little bit bigger than your piece. I'll do it for the next one here. So here's my back. I'm going to go like this. And then I press. And then I'm going to baste all the way around the edges. And just like 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now with your rotary cutter or with scissors, you can trim the excess foam away. I like to give everything a press again. Isn't that going to be cute? Okay, I'm going to repeat for this piece. I'm going to base stitch that, and if it needs trimming, and then I'm going to press the SF101 onto the lining. Let me show you this real quick. This is super easy. But if you've never seen it or used it, then it wouldn't seem easy, would it? Some people like to spray a starch here. I usually don't. Mostly because I think this works just fine. Why use more materials? I don't know. But if you like that way, use it. Okay, so that's how you're going to do the interfacing for your other lining back piece. And baste this, and I will meet you back here in a jiff. All right, take your two front pieces and flip them over to the wrong side. Using a marking tool, I'm going to use a Sharpie so that it really shows up for you on camera. And do this, and I usually make a little hole at the top of that dart so that my marker goes right through. Okay, so I'm going to mark my dart tip, and then I mark the legs, and then I come in with my ruler and connect. And now I'll do that for the other side. There's that. You may want to pin this in place if you're not used to doing this, so that your paper doesn't shift. Okay, that one is done. Now we will repeat for the lining. Now, pinch that point and bring those two legs to meet. So these two legs are meeting, and the point is where the tip of the dart is. Now I use pins here because I don't want it to move at all. And a lot of times I'll pin the legs, and then I also pin that tip. Now that's kind of overkill because this bag is not, it's not critical if your darts are a little off. It's still going to work. Now we're going to sew from here up and end at that tip and back stitch. Now in clothing you would not back stitch, you would tie a knot. But in bag making I always back stitch. Back stitch here, back stitch up here. And then we'll repeat that for the other side. Do the lining first so you can practice, because then you'll feel more confident with the exterior, and you want the exterior to look nice. I'm pinning crazy, aren't I? But that's okay. Now, a trick here with the foam, give it another quick press so everything is really nice. It can be easy to have puck. Sorry about that, lost my recording there. What I'm saying here is smooth out that fabric really nicely. Take your time to make sure that there's no puckers in that dart. If you happen to sew the dart and you have a wrinkle or a pucker in there, just unpick the dart and try again. Not a big deal, it's happened to me many times. Here I'm going to sew the dart together. I start at the bottom of the dart and work my way up towards the top. Not a big deal if you want to go the reverse way, if that's easier for you. Generally in clothing making, you start at the bottom and you end at the tip and then tie a knot. In bag making, it's not such a big deal. So do what works for you. Check your dart, make sure it looks good, and you're good to go. Here are the pieces for A, all done. Some sewists like to trim the darts, but I don't. If it's not too much bulk for my sewing machine, I don't trim them. It's personal preference. I read once in a bag pattern that it can compromise the integrity of the bag if you trim your dart too much, and it scared me, so I just don't. Now, if it was leather and foam and, you know, a billion layers that were really hard for my machine, then I would trim it. So you do you and I'll do me. Okay, bye. All right, next. So now we're going to move on to the vinyl pocket. I'm using this cute glittery stars vinyl, and normally I would just center it and sew it on and use this pocket like this. But quite a few testers said, lady, bind your top edge like you do in your other patterns. So I was like, okay, I will. So I use the cheater method, and I just slip that vinyl right into that binding, and I'm going to sew it down. And I'm looking at the shorter side of the binding as I'm sewing, because then I'm going to flip it over and this will be the front. You can just trim your edges, or you can tuck them under, whatever you want to do. Now I'm folding my B piece in half to make a centering crease. I do this in all my bag patterns. It really helps to, for sure, find the center. So there's my center crease. And then this little doohickey, I'm going to fold in half and make a center crease. And then I'm going to measure 1.5 inches down and line up the center creases. Now, normally I would say never ever pin vinyl. And if you used binding, oops, I've got mine flipped the wrong way. If you used binding, at this point, you can just pin the binding. However, if you didn't use binding, just pin it quick through the vinyl like this. Yes, the holes are permanent, but they're microscopic, and I don't think you're putting any jelly in here or liquid, you know, so I'm just not going to have a hissy about it. I'm going to sew down, over, and up. You must use a Teflon foot or you're going to run into problems. You must use a Teflon foot unless you have a Janome Skyline S7. Then you don't need chisel because you got a good machine. Okay, that's done. Time to put this bag together. Can you believe this is where we're at? It's amazing. Now I start off with the darted piece, exterior. It doesn't really matter what you start off with. Just line up your zipper. Line your zipper top edge with the top edge of your bag. So let me get closer here for you. So the zipper is right side facing down. Fabric and zipper right sides together. And then I use clips to hold it in place, and I'm going to sew all the way across that zipper. There is a faint line in most zipper tapes right down the center, and you can just sew on that if you like. It will be easier if you have a zipper foot. It's really a fight if you don't put on your zipper foot. It's a fight to get that straight. Okay, the zipper is on and attached. Now you're going to take the corresponding lining piece and lay it right on top, right sides together, matching your sides, and use clips to hold that in place. Align the top edge. And I'm going to sew right down that previous stitching line. Now press the fabrics away from the zipper. I first do a really good finger press like this, and then I come in with the iron. Now if you're using a nylon zipper, your teeth are fine, nothing's going to melt. Plastic will melt. Most zippers that I shouldn't say most, but I mean, most of the zippers I buy are nylon zippers. They feel like plastic, but they're actually not. A true plastic zipper will say plastic zipper on it. Okay, we're going to top stitch all the way down, and that'll hold all these layers beautifully in place. I now am going to sew across each short end, right across the zipper teeth, to make sure this head stays on the zipper. All right, now we're going to attach the other side. So you will again place that zipper and the fabric of the other piece, piece B, right sides together. Align the top edges and use clips to hold in place. And we're going to sew down that end. Okay, that side is on. Now we'll take the remaining lining piece and place that right sides together with the lining. I like to flip it over. This edge is easier for me to see. I'm making sure the top is aligned and the sides look good as well. Now I'm going to sew down that stitching line. Now just like before, you're pressing those two pieces away from the zipper, giving a good finger press, and then come in with your iron. Now I'm going to top stitch along that edge. Okay, it's starting to look like a bag. So for the strap, I have you cut 7/8 of an inch of the foam so that your strap is nice and cushiony. And I piece mine. I don't cut Usually I don't have enough foam on hand to cut one huge strip, one long 60-inch strip. So I just piece it. So this is how I cut my 7/8 inch pieces. And then I will add those into the strap. The first thing you want to do is fold these long edges together. If you had to piece yours like I did, you can iron those seams flat. That'll help. So all we're doing here is making a center crease, so it doesn't have to be pressed into oblivion or anything. All right, then open it back up and take each edge and bring it to that middle crease and press that. Okay, slide your foam in here, and it's going to be tucked in that first fold. I'm going to show you on this little piece. So it's right up against that first fold. I tuck the fabric over, and then I'm folding it again. Now this I'm going to really press the heck out of. If you cut this too wide, your strap will have an overhang, and that's not what you want. You want those edges to be even. Well, I mean, I think you do. Maybe you don't. So then I'm going to do this all the way down. Here, I've run out of foam. I don't do anything special. Some people put a fusible interfacing on top. I find it's just fine like this. If you're paranoid that you'll feel a break, get a little scrap of SF101 and lay it in there, and that'll get pressed in. And then you absolutely will not feel a break. Okay, I'm going to sew all the way down that long edge. I'm not pressing or pulling on the strap. That's very easy to do when you have a piece this long. So just be mindful, because what you don't want is some twisting and puckering and wrinkling going on. Let the sewing machine do the work. After you sew the first side, bring it back to the ironing station and press. You're not only setting the stitches, but you're gonna help yourself when you're sewing down the other long edge because you've pressed it, things are in place. It's not gonna bend and warp on you as easily. Unless you're pulling on it like horse reins, then it's gonna act real crazy. I always press these long straps because too many times in the past when I've gone to do the other side and I didn't sew in the same direction, I ended up with a strap that looked like it was fighting itself. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so this is how I sewed the first side. So this is how I'm sewing the second side. And again, not pulling. Here is our beautiful strap. Now you're going to take that strap and cut off a section 4 inches long. And then take that section and fold it in half and cut that in half, right at the fold, I mean. Now you've got 2 equal pieces. Take your D-rings, slide it through there. And then move your lining out of the way and just on the exterior piece, attach your D-ring attachments. Use a clip to hold in place. Check to make sure you've only done that to your exterior piece. Now I'm going to sew down right there. I usually start in the middle and then go forwards and backwards after I've got it sewn on. Oh, I'm out of thread. Oh, okay, we're almost there. Now you've sewn across these short ends. This will make it easier on you. If you haven't done that yet, go ahead and do it now. And then open your zipper. Oh, for goodness sakes. That's my pug going crazy. Bring your 2 exteriors right sides together. And clip in place. Now the back piece, at first it seems like, oh, that's not fitting. Well, you have to pull it a little bit. This is a curve. You have to do what's called easing it to make it match. There you go. Now I'm going to pin my darts out. And then my inner darts, I'm going to make them go in. And that way, they'll be nesting. Now, in between the darts, I'm going to leave that open for turning out the bag later. I'm going to start here, sew all the way around, and stop at this dart. Make sure your zipper is out of the way. I felt it chunky there, and sure enough, that zipper pull had come down over. Don't do that. That'll break your needle. Oh, I did forget to mention, when you're sewing this, let me take this out to show you. You want to pinch your zipper teeth towards the lining. If you sewed over the short ends like I mentioned, then they're going to naturally be together and they won't be off kilter. But if you didn't sew those ends together, it could potentially have one zipper teeth facing exterior and one lining. I hope I'm making sense. What I mean is make sure that your zipper teeth are facing the same direction. I say that in the pattern about 5 times, I think. Now we're going to turn this right sides out. If you're having trouble with the vinyl, you can use a hair dryer to make it more pliable and easier to fold through. It's such a small section that should be okay, but I'll mention that. Oh, I gotta go sew that. Really stick your fingers, your thumbs in there and push out those zipper ends. Everything's facing nicely. I just have to fix this section here because I slightly missed that. And that's when I stopped to talk, so that's my fault. I also forgot to peel my lining. That is so funny. This is the vinyl I sell in my shop, and I know that there's a protective film on it, and yet I forgot to peel it. It's okay, it'll come off. There we go. All right. Trim threads. I always check my corners and push the bag out, make sure everything's good before I close this opening in the lining. So now I'm just going to tuck that in, and I'm going to sew across there to close the opening. Okay. Yay! The bag is complete. All we need is to add our strap. So I have another tutorial if this is the only section that you need help with on how to do an adjustable strap. We're going to come up and over that middle bar. Okay? Now we're going to take this, slide it through the D-ring and up over. Or just through the D-ring and up. Am I close enough? Now tuck that raw edge under and use a clip or two to hold in place. And you're going to sew right across there several times to secure that and hold it in place. Here's our adjustable buckle. We're coming around, making sure it's not twisted at all. I come from the front and go towards the back and back up around. Okay, you tracking so far? This is so hard. This is one of the things that kept me from making adjustable straps for years. So I'm not being patronizing. I'm dead serious. This was really hard for me once upon a time. I'm going to trim this because I don't like those threads. Okay, we're going back up through the adjustable buckle and over that center bar again. And this, you might need a tool to help you push that down. Okay? So there we are. Tuck in that raw edge, and then you're only attaching it to that bottom strap. Make sense? So we're going to sew right across there just like the other one to hold that in place. And I tuck my raw edges. If you wanted to pink your raw edge and just do the 2 layers, you can do that too. And then do some fray check along the edge. I'm going to sew these 2 edges down, and then we are totally done. I'm just trimming my threads, going over the bag, making sure all the seams have integrity. Everything's good. And she's finished. I'm super happy with how this turned out. It's so cute. And you can wear it really high, you know, that's really secure. So what I love about this is there's no flap, there's no nonsense going on. You open that zipper, boom, you're right in your stuff. This is what I'll be taking into the grocery store with me so that I don't have a bag to put in the trolley and all those germs and everything. No thanks. So I hope you like it. Tag me on Instagram at SoHungryHippie so I can cheerlead for you when I see your Woodstock bag. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you soon.